Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Michelle Norman. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Partners in Promise. We're excited to share with you information about our new special needs binders. It is our newest tool for your toolbox to help you navigate the Exceptional Family Member Program, special education, 504 plans, and more. Now, you may notice that we have a QR code on our first slide. This code takes you directly to our binder landing page on our website, where you can customize and download your own binder based on your unique needs of your family. Also, if you have a chance to attend one of our in-person trainings, you'll receive a hard copy of the binder. Okay, so here's the agenda of what our presenters will cover today. We'll be sharing about our team and our organization, and also here are the learning objectives, an overview of the binders, why we need a binder, how to use the binders for organization and PCS moves and advocacy, how to update our binder. This is really important, as you can update through our website at any time by saving the digital file and updating it as needed. You can reprint the documents for each new school year and for each PCS. We're also going to talk about the Exceptional Family Member Program and those binders, special education, IEPs, 504 plans, and those binders, and then some key takeaways. We have two PIP team members joining me today. First, we have Carly Brinsko, Special Education Content Manager and former school teacher. We also have Crystal DeVos Mahaney joining us. She's our research editor and special education legal analyst. We have an incredible team of military and veteran spouses who all have children with special needs and are subject matter experts in special education. Last, we have a special guest who will be joining us later in the program, Dr. David Cantrell, Deputy Director of the Office of Special Education Programs, Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services within the U.S. Department of Education. We look forward to his remarks on their new program, Expect, Engage, and Empower. And with that, I would like to introduce Carly Brinsko to begin our presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. Partners in Promise was founded by 4 military spouses, all sharing the same bond of having a child with disabilities and all experiencing challenges educationally in our highly mobile lifestyle. Now our team includes special education advocates, an attorney, former EFMP staff, veterans, educators, and researchers, all with the personal connection and power to support each other and military families. We wanted to make sure that the voices of our families were heard and develop solutions to ensure that our children have access to an appropriate education, like their civilian counterparts. And we can't offer solutions without data, right? And we love data. Data informs everything we do here in Partners in Promise. We conducted annual surveys in the last 3 years, and the stories military special education families shared with us gives stakeholders and decision makers vital information about what our families experience. And the data pointed out what families have been saying all along. There are delays in receiving services and supports after a PCS across all service branches. And it is easy for our children to fall through the cracks when we move every 2 to 3 years. We know that families have long-term and short-term goals for their children, but our data show that the IEPs are not necessarily supporting these goals. And that is how these binders will help military families advocate as they move through those transitions in this military life. We developed 4 unique binders for military families. The special education and EFMP binder is our bread and butter, so to speak, but we also have a 504 plan and EFMP binder. An EFMP binder for those only having a medical diagnosis, and an adult, an EFMP binder for spouses and adult children that are still eligible for EFMP. I would like to point out just a few highlights here. The first one is Partners in Promise's Special Education Bill of Rights. It is our own document that is informed by provisions in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It is not a legal document. And then we have the ABCs of special education. You can find that in tab 2 of the special education EFMP binder and the rest of the binders. Special education is complex. Military jargon is prolific. This will help you figure out what some of those acronyms and laws mean. Have you ever felt lost as to what to say and even how to ask? We have too, all of us. And that's why we created letter templates. And in these binders scattered throughout, you will find templates for requesting an IEP meeting, a school district evaluation, and requesting an independent educational evaluation. Then we have our resources located at the back of the binders that cover special education, medical, and mental health resources. Why do we need a binder? It is our ultimate goal for all military families to have a binder tailor-made that meets your family's unique needs. The more prepared and organized we are, the better advocates we can be for ourselves and our children. Having all records in one place makes life easier to manage for PCS moves. Think school registration, referrals, and EFMP point of contact. Most importantly, these binders are going to help ensure your child is successful educationally and prepared for life beyond school. In the end, it's all about affording them the opportunity to be independent, productive members of society, and that is what we feel so passionate about. So let's talk a little bit about the Exceptional Family Member Program, also known as EFMP. EFMP is a mandatory enrollment for families who have a family member with a qualifying medical and/or educational condition. That family member could be a spouse or a child. Those conditions could include chronic medical, physical, and/or mental conditions, asthma, ADHD with comorbid diagnoses, and special education needs. Active duty service members may enroll their family members, but the MHS provider, DODEA representative, or EIS rep can directly refer as well. And the EFMP program has three components: identification and enrollment, assignment coordination, and of course, it coordinates community support and resources. This is the cover of our EFMP binder for military families. These checklist items are included in all four binders. In the special education and EFMP binders, it is tab 12, 13, and 14. The first tab here, though, is TRICARE. You will have the ability to input your primary care doctors, dentists, urgent care centers nearby, specialty medical providers, and medication log, which I personally have used a lot for ADHD medication and the many changes we've really had to go through throughout the years to find the right fit. And here you can also include information about your TRICARE region and plan you are on, pre-authorizations and referrals, and any other information you may need, like emergency plans. The next tab we have here, it will help you keep all of your EFMP information. You have information on your EFMP case liaison, your EFMP enrollment paperwork, respite care, ECHO, and autism care demonstration program paperwork, if applicable. And we also included forms to use to track conversations with EFMP or other personnel. We always say, document, document, document. The last tab here is the resources section that we flipped to earlier. The links on the download are hyperlinked and take you directly to those resources. We are proud of the adults in EFMP binder, since adults do not typically get a lot of love or attention. The assumption tends to be that EFMP is only for the children. The program includes adults with a special medical condition or disability too. It could be a spouse with a chronic or acquired disability, a child with a developmental disability transitioning to adulthood, or even a family member with complex needs who needs assistance to live on their own. Partners in Promise latest 2022 survey results find that 59.62% of adult EFMs reported delayed access to medical services after a PCS move. Of those, 89% waited a month or more, with 6.25% reporting they have never received services. They are struggling to receive care too. Your local EFMP support office can provide you with resources such as non-clinical case management, referrals, and other support to assist these family members. And here we have our adults and EFMP binder cover, and the adults and EFMP checklist. And it's very similar to the EFMP binder I talked about earlier. Something to think about here. This can help your graduating high school student transition to work life or even college. Help them self-advocate by having them print this off and start organizing their own records now. But it also can help those who have chronic illnesses, as we mentioned before. Now I'd like to introduce Crystal Mahoney, Research Editor and Special Education Legal Analyst. She will discuss recent survey data and the details of our special education and 504 plan binders.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. As Carly mentioned, we love our data. Our 2022 survey looked at educational goals and outcomes. One finding was that 86% of parents report having long-term educational goals for their child. Why is this not 100%? Additionally, 54% of those parents reported that their child's IEP did not support their educational outcome goals. Why does this matter? We want you to understand that when we go to each new school to talk about our child's education and we come prepared with our binder, we can provide the school with essential information about their educational journey. This helps the school better understand your child's journey, their needs, and their educational goals, which ultimately helps the school team provide the much needed supports that align with your family's long-term educational goals. If you go to the very front of the binder, you'll find this checklist. We think it can really help our families. Every year, ask yourself these questions and share your answers with your IEP team. Is your child's diagnosis acknowledged by your school? Is the educational impact of their diagnosis also acknowledged by your school? Is your child's IEP helping to meet their long-term educational goals? Does your child participate in standardized testing? Is your child placed in the least restrictive environment? And lastly, is your child on track to graduate with a standard high school diploma? The answers to these questions will change each year and likely with each PCS. Consistently reviewing these questions and answers will help you better advocate for your child's long-term educational goals with each new school year. We are honored to have Dr. David Cantrell join us today. Dr. Cantrell serves as a Deputy Director of the Office of Special Education Programs within the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services at the U.S. Department of Education. In this role, he assists the OSEP Director to oversee the administration of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the federal law that governs special education and provides protections for children with disabilities from birth to age 21 to receive a free and appropriate public education. We are excited to hear about OSEP's new program, Expect, Engage, and Empower, especially because it aligns with our survey data about the importance of long-term educational goals and having high expectations for our children to graduate with the standard high school diploma. Dr. Cantrell, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Crystal, for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. As Crystal said, I'm David Cantrell, the OSEP Deputy Director here in the Office of Special Education Programs within the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services with the U.S. Department of Education. I'd like to extend my appreciation to Partners in Promise for convening this webinar and asking me to speak about OSEP's work supporting military-connected students with disabilities. I'd like to first begin with expressing my sincere appreciation to all of the families and military members for their support of our country. We know that you make sacrifices every day, and my office is dedicated to supporting the educational needs of students with disabilities as they transition from one military installation to another, and from one school to yet another. We know that these transitions are often stressful and challenging to families as they navigate the special education processes at different schools. Today, I want to share with you several updates from my office, which provide support to families as they transition and to also address many of these challenges. I hope that you find this information useful. Our secretary, Dr. Cardona, has launched a national initiative called Raise the Bar, Lead the World, with exceptional educational practices. Here in OSEP, we are focusing on evidence-based practices and coordination at the national level to support students with disabilities, and particularly students who are military connected and those with disabilities. Let me provide some additional information about the Secretary's Raise the Bar initiative and some of the activities that my office in particular has launched in support of Raise the Bar. Every family that has an infant, child, or youth with a disability must be exposed to high expectations from day one. They're entitled to a comprehensive, rigorous education with appropriate conditions for learning, as well as a full range of pre-employment transition and vocational rehabilitative services. Each of these should ensure that the student has a successful pathway to independence and competitive integrated employment beyond high school. So there are three tenets of Raise the Bar. First, raise the bar for academic excellence. We need to get back to a focus on the instructional core, accelerating learning and delivering a comprehensive, rigorous education for every student. For students with disabilities, this means early identification, development of an individualized education program with the necessary accommodations and supports, of course, in an expeditious manner. Second, raise the bar for better at learning conditions. We need to tackle educator shortages and invest in every student's mental health and well-being. This past summer, my office awarded over $300 million in grants for the training of special educators, related services personnel, and leaders in special education. We know that these grants will not solve all of the national teacher shortages. However, we are hopeful as a result of these grants that some personnel shortages in some communities will be addressed. Additionally, the department has released guidance to address the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of students with disabilities. And here in OSEP, we have released many resources in support of military-connected students with disabilities. All of these resources are available at our website, osepideasthatwork.gov. In just a moment, I'll discuss more about this website and the many resources available to you. And the final tenet of the Secretary's Raise the Bar initiative is really the ultimate goal of my office: improving the pathways for global engagement for all children and, of course, students with disabilities. We must ensure students have multiple pathways to career and college success and multilingual educational opportunities. And for our students with disabilities, it is critical that they have robust and efficient post-secondary transition plans that provide them with options and supports as they consider their post-secondary goals. In just a moment, I'll provide additional information regarding our new OSEP initiative, Expect, Engage, Empower, Successful Transitions for All. Next, let me speak a little bit about our incredible Assistant Secretary, Glen and Gallo. She is committed to supporting the educational needs of infants, toddlers, children and youth with disabilities, and of course, their families. As an office, each of our efforts are laser focused on developing and providing evidence-based supports and resources to parents, teachers, students, and educational leaders. Again this year, my office has planned extensive activities to collaborate with the Department of Defense Office of Special Needs, the Exceptional Family Member Program, DODEA, and other military partners to identify additional supports needed for our military-connected families with disabilities. So now let me draw your attention to our new OSEP initiative, Expect, Engage, Empower, Successful Transitions for All. As I previously mentioned, my office is keenly aware of the challenges faced as families navigate special education as they transition to a new school, oftentimes many new schools over their child's K-12 experience. This initiative will provide parents useful resources and guidance as they work with new schools in the establishment of individual educational programs to include the development of a critically important transition plan. If we want to improve post-secondary outcomes, it is critical to begin transition planning earlier to engage and empower children and youth with disabilities, and of course their families, to access the appropriate transition and vocational rehabilitative services that are needed. If we want to improve post-secondary outcomes, it is critical that the two systems responsible for a successful future, naming the educational and vocational rehabilitative systems, are partnering and collaborating in the best interest of students. This initiative is an opportunity for you to join OSEP in the challenge to raise expectations, engage families earlier, and fully empower all who support transition. And also ultimately to improve the post-school outcomes for children and youth with disabilities. This is a call to action to transform how we see, plan, and implement secondary transition practices to advance educational equity, excellence, and post-school outcomes for students that we serve. We commonly refer to this initiative as 3E. But let me take a moment first to clarify, what do we mean by expect, empower, and engage? Expect. High expectations contribute to positive post-secondary outcomes. Implementing high expectations means teachers, service providers, and families understand secondary transition requirements and support high-quality implementation of special education, related services, and vocational rehabilitative services, starting upon the child's identification with the disability and intensifying throughout early childhood and elementary school, appropriate for each child. Engage. Families acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to effectively advocate, access available resources, and engage in transition planning that leads to the articulation and implementation of high expectations for their children and youth. And teachers and service providers offer appropriate support and challenging objectives for their children and youth. And lastly, empower. Children, youth, and their families feel empowered as they navigate school and community services. And of course, successfully transition to post-secondary education or independent living, and also considering competitive integrated employment opportunities. The 3E initiative was launched on May 10th of this year by hearing about the range of experiences of students, families, and practitioners who have engaged in secondary transition process. We recently followed the powerful kickoff event with a blog series on various aspects of transition and the policies and practices that support them. We also held the first in a series of symposia on October 25th on belonging, building and sustaining environments that support high expectations, engagement, and empowerment for all. I hope that you've been able to access these blogs and attend the events. If not, all events have been recorded and may be viewed at the OSEP website, osepideasthatwork.org. Please check out these resources by either going to the website or using the cell phone that's available on this slide to scan the image, and that will take you to the website. To address the many unique needs of our military-connected families with students with disabilities, let me share with you our newly released guide to OSEP-funded technical assistance centers. OSEP funds each year about 50 technical assistance centers to provide a diverse range of services and supports to special education stakeholders. From the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition to the Center on Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, to our early childhood centers focusing on early intervention and supports, just to name a few. These centers provide technical assistance services to families, schools, districts, states, and of course, to all of you viewing this webinar. Additionally, OSEP funds 100 parent training and information centers and community parent resource centers across the U.S. The charge of these centers is to provide a variety of direct services for children and youth with disabilities, military families, professionals, and other organizations that may support them. Some of the activities that our parent centers provide include working with families of infants, toddlers, children, and youth with disabilities through the age of 26, helping parents participate effectively in their child's education and development, to include supporting transition between schools. And lastly, partnering with professionals and policymakers to improve the outcomes for children with disabilities. My time today with you is relatively short, but I hope that you find these resources helpful and that our 3E initiative impactful as you work with local leaders in developing transition plans for your children with disabilities. My office is committed to supporting our military families. So please continue to check out our websites and announcements for forthcoming activities over the next year. I thank you all for what you do in support of our military-connected students with disabilities. Thanks once again.
Dr. Cantrell, thank you so much for your remarks and giving valuable insights into the Expect, Engage, and Empower program. I'm sincerely grateful for everything that your office is pouring into our community. It really is important as a military family to track your child's progress. It is easy to fall through the cracks because we are a highly mobile population. Next, I want to talk about IEPs and 504 plans. What is similar? What is different? Since we have a mix of new and prepared families here with us today, I want to briefly define each. IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. In short, an IEP is specially designed instruction and modified curriculum tailored to a child's educational needs. To obtain an IEP, a child needs to be evaluated by the school, found eligible for at least one category of disability. There are 13 disability categories, and that disability must impact their ability to fully access an education. An IEP serves as a roadmap for the school to deliver the individualized education to a child. 504 plans provide accommodations to a child with disabilities, though the curriculum does not change. A 504 plan can help to, in a sense, level the playing field. For a student whose disability impacts their learning in a way that the child needs environmental or instructional modifications to learn. A few very common examples include giving a student extra time to take a test, sitting closer to a teacher, having a test read aloud, or moving to a quiet environment, maybe using a calculator, and so on. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is the federal law that provides protections for children with disabilities and defines 504 plans. Finally, the Special Education and EFMP binder is what PIP is truly known for, protecting the rights of your child in special education. I get it. This slide may seem pretty overwhelming, but it's a comprehensive list of documents that can really help you. And in fact, you probably have a lot of these already. Let's go through a few of the tabs so you can get an idea of what each tab contains. The front part of the binder we already kind of reviewed, but there is one form that we refer to as All About Me. You can upload a picture of your child, state what your vision is for the year, give their new teacher insights as to what works, what doesn't, and provide basic contact information. Tab 1. This is for school contact information, registration paperwork, and documents needed for transferring schools. I want to point out the previous teacher's letter. This is really important to get before you move. The previous teacher can provide an overview of the child to their new teacher, what worked, and what they were still working on before you moved. If the teacher used a particular intervention or support that is not listed in the IEP, this is where the teacher can state that. Tab 2. This is where we will keep all of your child's initial eligibility documents. This is really quite important. You will notice that you can keep 504 plan documents here as well. It may turn out that your child goes through the IEP eligibility process, was found not eligible to receive special education services, but can receive a 504 plan. Later, when you PCS and those issues are still present, you want to be able to refer back to these documents. Tab 3. This section is all about the current IEP, the team members, the IEP transferred into the new school with, the documents for the IEP meetings, parent input form, and a letter template to request an IEP meeting. Don't forget the legal document prior written notice. This outlines proposed or refused actions at an IEP meeting. You'll also find information about extended school year services, also known as ESY. Tab 4. Does your child's behavior sometimes get in the way of their learning? Are you getting calls to pick up your child every day, or has your child been suspended? You have the right to request a functional behavior assessment, which helps to develop a behavioral intervention plan. As always, documentation is critical. This is where you want to keep those records. Tab 5. Progress reports and academic testing. A great place to keep all progress reports on IEP goals and report cards. Work samples should also be kept here as supporting data because this will help you track progress as well. Tab 6, parent and private provider data. We love data, and it is important to share your data when working with your IEP team. Sometimes you might work with your child at home on classwork, reading, maybe even homework. Keep a log using our at-home data sheet of how it goes and what you see at home. Additionally, if your child is working with a private tutor or a private speech therapist or occupational therapist, keep these records and this data in this section so you can present it to the IEP team. We also included behavior data collection sheets. Tab 7, school plans. A lot of our kiddos often have specific plans like a bus safety plan, medication, food allergy, etc. Tab 8. This is where you keep all evaluations, both school evaluations and private evaluations. Keep all of your consent forms and know how to request an independent educational evaluation if needed. Don't worry, we have a letter template for that too. Tab 9, post-secondary and transition services. As far away as it may seem, or as much as we may not want it to, our children will grow up. What are your goals? What are your child's goals? What will they pursue? Vocational education, employment, college. Also think about getting a power of attorney, maybe a disability trust, or perhaps an incapacitated adult paperwork. Tab 10, correspondence. As we say, if it's not in writing, it never happened. Document everything. Keep these records here, and we also have templates for that as well. Tab 11, procedural safeguards and dispute resolution. Do you know where to go for help? If you're struggling or you disagree with the IEP team, this section outlines where to go for support and what to keep along the way. Also, don't forget that each military installation now have legal supports available to you. Tabs 12 through 14, we've already kind of discussed earlier, so I won't go over those again. Next up is the 504 plan and EFMP binder for military families. It's pretty similar to the special education binder, except there is an insert that talks more about the 504 plans, how they differ from IEPs, and their specific legal protections. We still included the ABCs of education in this binder because your child might be eligible for an IEP sometime in the future. What are the key takeaways? Customize each binder to meet your needs. We developed 4 binders for your individual journey through EFMP, IEPs, and 504 plans. I want to leave you with this. Be prepared, be organized, know that your journey will evolve, and these binders are meant to evolve with you. Take the binders on your journey. We want you to be better prepared for the next PCS mood. The more organized you are, the better equipped you are before, during, and after your PCS. Thank you for your time, everyone. Michelle, I hand it off to you.
Thank you, Crystal and Carly, for giving us the details about these incredible resources. A special thank you to Dr. Cantrell for speaking to the Expect, Engage, and Empower program. We hope you found this training informative. So let us know. We want you to connect with us. Visit our website at thepromiseact.org. Also, sign up for the PIP newsletter if you have not already. And if you want to download your own personalized binder and have not had the chance yet, click on that QR code on the right there. Also, you'll find the links to Dr. Cantrell's resources in the comments, so please check those out too. Thank you again for joining us. And remember, you are your child's best advocate. We hope these binders are just one more tool in your toolbox to help you successfully navigate your child's special education journey and beyond. Have a wonderful day.